education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Asonisie, and a pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is yet another edition of our programs here. We want to welcome you and ask you to do us a favor by sharing the broadcast with somebody. We have yet another political topic. Of course, you know this is the hour of politics, and we are here to discuss political issues happening in our dear country, Liberia. This one seems to be very politically juicy and has an international twist and favor to it. And what I'm going to do here is to present to you an analysis of that political issue that is so much politically juicy. And this is where you want to be. Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. And so, folks, our topic for today's edition, U.S. government calls on the Boakai administration to prosecute sanctioned officials. It's in that politically juicy and intriguing. It is. And so I will give you an analysis that will be succinct on the very, very important topic. Hey, the cry for corruption has been overwhelming. Everybody wants to see corruption fought. We all want to see that corruption is fought tooth and nail, and that our government goes to work to weed out the corrupt officials who are responsible for our backwardness. Those who use public offices and to amass wealth at the detriment, at the displeasure, and the dissatisfaction of the majority. We have ever seen, though, to have wanted or do want this fight to be taken to those who are the back actors, isn't it? Well, the fight, is it on? I'm not sure if it is on. But here's the thing. There is a call now. Of all the calls that we have heard, there is a call. I don't know why so much we pay attention to this call when it comes from the United States. I have called, you have called, many have called, Liberians have called for the fight against corruption. And every Liberian has professed to want this fight, to want to see accountability. But have we as a people gone beyond the lip service of wanting this issue of accountability be brought to bear, especially on those who bear the greatest responsibility for the corruption that we have been experiencing at our detriment as a nation? So, folks, I have considered this call, this fight, these people professing to be ready for the fight against corruption. I think it has just been nothing but a lip service. Liberians have called, let us fight corruption. Let us stop corruption. Let us prevent corruption. Let us minimize corruption. So much has been said about this subject, but it is obvious nothing absolutely significant has been done to curtail, to minimize, to stop, and go as far as prosecuting the bad actors who have been the perpetrators of this corruption that we've been crying on. And so, at long last, and again, a call has come from the place usually when it comes from, and then it's like Jesus Christ has spoken. America said, and I quote, prosecute the sanctioned officials. Will something be done this time? Because this call is coming from the most powerful government on earth. Will this call be paid attention to where our government, our incoming government at on this issue? Because it is coming from a government that our incoming administration will need and must do business with in order for it to succeed. Chatilla was very eloquent when he said, "Mine regret, and one regret is I didn't have Uncle Sam on my side. I was not in good books with America." I don't know why, but it's like it's the war order now. I believe that we can do our own business and do well for ourselves, but it is obvious now we have been, this group of people that will rely on America. But again, someone said to me, the world is a global village now. The world is much more interconnected now. And I believe it. Friendship is a powerful thing. Relationships, connections, networking, it can be so powerful, and it can lead to so many things, And so let us not dismiss the power of friendship, especially when you have one with these more powerful nation on earth, the United States of America. And so, folks, through our incoming government, pay heed, listen to the United States of America, calling on it to prosecute the sanctioned officials, and should it even be America to make the call before any of our government will act? President Weah is still in power. He has been in power. Liberian officials who are bad actors have been sanctioned. He was constrained, more than coerced. They forced him to fire them somehow. Serena Sivas, Nathaniel McGee, and Bill Twelwe were sanctioned by the U.S. government, and President Weah reluctantly will act to let them go. And that's all he did. Now, the U.S. government is saying that is not enough. These people must be prosecuted. It is the United States that has sanctioned these bad actors according to the United States, based on, I believe, hardcore evidence or suspicion that they have, or having to believe that these people are engaged in what they call significant corruption. Significant corruption. It must actually be significant. So the U.S. are at it, and the U.S. is saying, we have played our part. The incoming government must prosecute these people. The incoming government should not act as the current government of President Weah. When we sanction CFOs, when we sanction Prince Johnson, when we sanction Vani Sherman, when we sanction Bill Twelwe, Nathaniel McGill, this Weah government did not act, did not go to prosecute these individuals. Some of these individuals continue to remain in government today. In the case of Twelwe and McGill, they ran while sanctioned and they won. And that is why we'll come to the other subject of whether or not Liberians are only professing that they want accountability, that they do not like corrupt officials. We will come to that subject because I'm not sure whether or not Liberians actually want this thing called the fight against corruption. It has not been demonstrated overwhelmingly, in my purview, by the Liberian people in their majority. And so, as I was saying, the U.S. government is calling on the Boakai administration that do not behave as the CDC government that did not do anything to prosecute this individual that we have sanctioned, who we believe have been involved in significant corruption. We will not let you do so. The U.S. government is giving this, what I may consider an advice to the incoming administration. Look, if you want us to do business with you, this is what we want to see done. And some people with better understanding of the issue say, look, the U.S. government is doing this because the U.S. government provides budgetary support to the Liberian government, and some of these tax dollars of the U.S. government ends up in the pockets of this individual. So the U.S. must act. More so, the U.S. about, maintaining democracy across the world. And corruption is one thing that can bring about dissatisfaction in a country that might lead to instabilities and then breaking down, society order. And so in that instant, the U.S. is acting. But the point is that what is sanction? Some of you might want to know, what is this sanction, by the way? Well, sanction is a threatening penalty. Sanction is a threatening penalty for disobeying a law or rule by imposing certain restriction. A sanction is a threatening penalty. Sanction can be considered as a shame. In other words, naming and shaming an individual for engaging in act that is unbecoming, usually by disobeying, abusing trust, and also meriting violence or committing human rights abuses. But the simple definition of a sanction is a threatening penalty for disobeying a law or rule or engaging into any act of violence, abusing human rights, and abusing human rights, or abusing and also abusing public trust. And it comes with restriction when one engages in any such behavior. That is our definition for sanction. But here is the thing, though, folks. This sanction, according to the U.S. Chargé Affairs, Catherine Rodriguez, she says sanction is a tool. It is a tool that is being used to point out bad actors who are either abusing public trust or engaging in human rights abuses. Gov't has been sanctioned by the U.S. government for significant corruption and the abuse of human rights. Gov't has been accused of organizing paramilitary-style groups and using them to target some individuals in Liberia. And so because of that bad behavior, allegedly by Gov't, he's been sanctioned. That tool is being used, and now he is under U.S. restriction not to travel to America. And the U.S. is saying that is not enough. That man must be investigated by the incoming government. And when found guilty, there must be a penalty. And the same can be said about Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson has long been sanctioned by the U.S. government for engaging into significant corruption by trading votes for money, according to the U.S. government. He remains a consequential political actor in Liberia who has significant influence in how Liberia runs. The U.S. government said this is a bad example from a bad actor, and this man must be investigated, and all the things we accuse of him if and only when he's guilty of these things, let the Liberian law take its place. Now, here's the thing though. The U.S. government is acting on a law that was passed by the U.S. government in 2012, authorizing the President of the United States of America to act by imposing sanctions on individuals and also imposing restriction on them for engaging in anything related to corruption or the abuse of human rights. So the President of the United States is acting on a law that was enacted by the legislature or the Congress, to put it right in the U.S. context. But in our country, we have laws that are being abused by public officials. But our government, our president, our leaders are not acting on these laws by imposing the necessary penalty on the individuals. And it is from that background, the Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Monrovia is saying these individuals must be prosecuted and let the penalty spelled out by the law be brought down upon them. When President Weah was elected, one of the things he said was that he will fight corruption, and wherever someone will be found guilty, the full weight of the law will be brought down on that individual. President Weah said that. Now, there is a law in Liberia called the Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct says any official of government appointed into government or in government must declare his or her asset before taking office and when leaving office. But the president of Liberia fell flat. He took office. He never declared his assets from January of 2018 to July of 2018 in blatant and flagrant violation of that very law. And many individuals have violated the law. The president has robbed himself of the moral standing to enforce the law that was passed or enacted into law by the national legislature. Our leaders have failed always to act on our laws. Our laws are beautiful. Our laws are strong, except that the political will has been lacking for our leaders to implement these laws so that public officials who abuse public trust by engaging in significant corruption can be held accountable. This is a significant bad behavior that has held about this long. So, what is the criticism against sanction now? The U.S. government is a foreign power that is holding individuals in another country accountable. There are some Liberians who are saying, well, Liberia is a sovereign state. How dare America comes to Liberia, and will go and act by holding our public officials accountable? Does America has any moral right or standing to do so? Where is the authority coming from? Who gives America this authority to come to the foreign nation and try to designate individuals believed to be involved in significant corruption? I just quoted the law to you. The U.S. government, the U.S. president is acting on a law passed in 2012 by Congress, authorizing the president of the United States of America to act by imposing sanctions on individuals believed to be involved in significant corruption and abusing human rights. And funds that are being used by the Liberian government, some of the funds are provided by the U.S. government, and so the U.S. government must ask where it sees and smells and notices that its tax dollars are being abused by individuals who should be using those tax dollars for the benefit of the people. So the U.S. is in the right standing to act in that direction. And so the U.S. has played its part. But coming back to the criticism here is Whoa. Why didn't the U.S. government sanction individuals in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration? There were significant reports of significant corruption. Why didn't the U.S. government at the time? Ellen came to power in 2006. She was elected in 2005 and started work in 2006. This law was passed in 2012. Ellen was in power up to, I can say, 2017. So why didn't the U.S. government impose sanctions on individuals at the time? The question is, whose responsibility it is to hold public officials who abuse public trust in Liberia accountable? My answer is, it is the Liberian government responsibility to do so. So you cannot be saying, why didn't America act? Why is America acting now? It's like someone saying, well, this father has 4 children. He has reneged on paying the tuition. Somebody steps in maybe 2 years later and say, well, I'm going to pay tuition for 2 of your children. And then another person can say, whoa, what are you doing? These children have not been in school since 5 years ago. Why are you paying 2% school fee now? What's about the rest of the people? The question is that the responsibility of that good Samaritan coming in to help? That is not the person's responsibility to do so. So this whole thing about Uncle Sam, not imposing sanctions on officials who were deemed to be corrupt in the Ellen Johnson administration, and now they are doing that, it means that it's not fair. It's just a bluff. It is the government of Liberia that is responsible to hold individuals accountable who abuse public trust and abuse human rights in Liberia. It is not the sole responsibility of the U.S. government to do so in Liberia. And so one can say what the U.S. government is doing is indeed a favor. That must be commended and appreciated by the people of Liberia and any serious government for that matter. And so we want to say here very clearly that let the incoming administration of Josiah Yuman Boakai welcome this call from the U.S. government to go speedily by prosecuting these individuals. It is obvious the U.S. government is not only acting on suspicion, no perception. I believe the U.S. government is acting on what may be considered a hardcore evidence in its possession. And so what we expect the Boakai administration to do now is to reach out to the incoming Boakai administration to do now is to reach out to the U.S. government and ask for whatever they have in their possession that led them to impose the sanction on these individuals. Prince Johnson is known. I don't know whether a Boakai administration will go by acting and holding Prince Johnson accountable for the significant corruption he has been involved in all these years. Would that be doable by the Boakai administration? That is the test for Boakai. We want to see Boakai becoming a Boakai. Bid 12 has been sanctioned. He ran. The CDC government sat there. There are individuals who contested in the going election. The law says that before you run for any office in Liberia, you must resign your appointed position a year prior to the election. There were so many officials of CDC who did not resign their position 1 year prior to the election, and they so like 6 months to the election, some 8 months to the election. But the CDC government allowed them to violate the law. And those people contested. Thank God most of them didn't win. How can we be like this? We are not implementing our own laws. We are not enforcing our own laws. Our executive branch of government is weak. And the Ministry of Justice is like a two-flat bulldog that does nothing when individuals are blatantly violating the laws that should be upholding the sanctity of our society. If we don't hold individuals accountable, how do we expect us to have a wholesome functioning society that respects the law, that obeys the law, and that holds everybody accountable? How are we expecting that to happen? So we are expecting Uncle Sam or America to do so? So back to the criticism, which is a significant piece of this. Some people are saying, well, early government, there were corrupt individuals. The U.S. government did not act. Why is America acting now? This is not fair. Some of them are even saying, look, President Weah has just conceded graciously. President Weah lost the election, and he conceded, and he constituted a committee for a smooth transfer of power. And this is a monumental achievement by President Weah and the CDC government. In fact, it is a monumental achievement by us as a people. And now the U.S. government is bringing sanctions against individuals who are members of the very government that has achieved this tremendous success, that has set this tremendous example, that has set this significant standard for others to follow, something that has placed Liberia in a very good place. America is doing all this so that we as a Black people will look very bad. Some people are making that argument. And I said to them, really? Have you read the pages of history when it comes to presidential election or the transfer of power in Liberia? Focus on Liberia runs a program here called the Liberian History Channel, where Liberian history is being taught, is being presented, is being provided here for people to learn. And so I have been following. Here's the thing. From Joseph Jenkins Roberts all the way to Old Man Tubman, Liberia as a nation had smooth and peaceful transfer of power. There, at some point in Liberia, presidential election was being held 4 times a year. I mean, every 4 years. You are aware of Joseph Jenkins Roberts, Stephen A. Benson, Daniel B. Warnon, and on and on and on and on. From Joseph Jenkins Roberts all the way to Old Man Tubman, coming all the way to Gov't. We have had smooth transfer of power. So a peaceful transfer of power. The transition of one administration to the other, it is not new in Liberia. It is a history that is well documented in Liberia. And so spare me that President Weah has done the greatest thing on earth that has never done before. It has been done in Liberia over 15 times. Smooth transfer of power has been done in Liberia over and over again. It is not new. So while it is true that I will commend President Weah for doing what he was expected to do as a president, when one loses election, one must concede. That's what he needed to do. What were you expecting him to do? To hang on to power unconstitutionally? Or because he did not do the wrong thing, he should be commended? Or because he did what he constitutionally is bound to do, he should be commended? Maybe I should concede, yes, we should commend him. But to make it to look that what he has done has not been done before, and so his government should not be held accountable, and that doing so will mean that we are undermining what he has done, what his government has done, is just nothing but preposterous. And I will be the first to say so in this analysis. So let's come to the Liberian people. And the question I ask is, should the U.S. government be commended for this sanction? Of course, yes, the U.S. government should be commended. I'm sure they have documentation in terms of evidence against the individuals that the Liberian government now can use. The Liberian government does not have to go look in so bush to look for facts and evidence against the individuals. The U.S. government, I believe, has the documentation, that they are relying on, and they are slamming these individuals with sanctions. They are very specific. They say significant corruption and human rights abuse thereof. So they are very, very clear and eloquent and specific about why they have designated these individuals, why they are naming and shaming these individuals. So yes, the U.S. government must be commended for doing what we should be doing for ourselves in the first place. This is a big helping hand. Here's the thing. Bad actors in our society must be named, must be shamed, they must be caught out, so that doing so will serve as a deterrent to will be bad actors who the intention is to come to public offices and abuse those public offices for their own benefits and at the displeasure of the poor, undermining development, undermining our progress, and denying Liberian people of reliable basic social services. Liberians deserve better. Our country deserves better. And individuals who are given this opportunity to serve must do so in the interest of the people and not in the interest of their family and their pockets. So yes, the U.S. government must be commended without any question whatsoever. If our leaders were acting on these laws, the U.S. government will have no reason of coming to designate individuals for significant corruption. When Koji was allegedly involved in these tactics, I believe very strongly that Koji hands, and I'll say hands, Koji hands are involved in the brutalization of student leader Christopher Walter Susulu Sivili. The CDC COP was being coordinated by Jefferson Koji. It was the CDC COP that went after this young man and they brutalized him. And the government of Liberia did absolutely nothing to these individuals by holding them accountable. Who in broad day, right before the embassy of the United States government. These were actors or individuals who have been supporting the CDC government. We saw them during the Just End campaign, campaigning for the CDC. They became free men even though they committed crime on camera right before our eyes. The constitutional government that saw these individuals involving or committing this crime let them loose because they support the government. Koji hands, I believe, were in that. He has his hands in that. And so, folks, the U.S. government must be commended. Our government failed that young man. Those who committed violence against him were not held accountable. In fact, our government failed to go to his aid. This is a citizen who has been brutalized. Our government failed to provide health care for him. The last time I had here, when I had an exclusive interview with him, he said somebody from the office of the president had called him and asking him to apologize, and then they will be able to provide him care. How dare you do that? Are you using your own money? This is a citizen who has been brutalized, humiliated, dehumanized by other citizens right before your eyes. You did not go to his rescue, and you trying to use the country money for the benefit of a citizen, and you are saying he should apologize before you can use his own money for his own welfare. How dare you behave like that? That is an act of wickedness. So the government that is responsible to protect lives and property sat idly by. The police sat idly by. The police, in fact, I will accuse the police of somehow indirectly conniving with these individuals because the police was just right there. And the police did absolutely nothing. Nothing significant to hold the individuals accountable. That young man, according to him, he was injected with substances. According to him, it was a mission to assassinate him. This is one of the carnage we saw, and their administration did absolutely nothing, let alone the death of auditors, let alone individuals who died as a result of campaign violence. Videos are to that effect of the individual carrying on those crimes. And yet there's no record, to my knowledge, of our government acting, of our police acting to hold those individuals accountable who committed serious crimes right before our eyes. The point is, when our government failed to act, when we have preponderance of evidence, the preponderance of evidence, just right there, the evidence are just all over the place. You can't act on the evidence. And you sit there and you do nothing when your laws are violated. There are several individuals in government who have not declared their asset, and yet they are working. Government does nothing. Our leaders do nothing. A foreign government acts, and then now you want to criticize, oh, why you didn't go far enough? Why you didn't do more enough? It is not the responsibility of the U.S. government to hold your corrupt officials accountable. They are just acting because their tax dollars are involved. They are acting because this issue borders on human rights. And that is why they are acting as a world superpower that also has that statutory responsibility. I don't know if it's statutory, but that has a responsibility based on the International Declaration of Human Rights to protect the rights of every human on the face of the planet. So, folks, here's the thing. What are the benefits of sanction? Is there any benefit to this sanction? Are there benefits to the sanction? Yes, there are benefits to the sanction. The sanction will serve as a deterrent to would-be actors. In fact, the incumbent government, some of them have been envying their friends who have been in government, allegedly stealing and building mansions. And of course, we see some evidence of mansions, right? For example, President Weah. That's not a guy who, talking something and try to chicken out. President Weah has shown us reason to believe that he has been involved in significant corruption. This man was practically broke to our full knowledge. His homes were leaking, especially the one on 9th Street. If he had money, how will he endure such shame? An iconic superstar, war icon, who acquired millions and achieved fame. His name alone could give him anything in the world. And yet, Weah house was leaking on 9th Street, right in the heart of the city. If President Weah had the money, he will act to redeem himself to that shame that he was enduring at the time. But he didn't have money. He came to the president and said, in no time, that building was on the ground. Then the next thing we saw was a mansion that was being erected by this president. The presidency gave him money. So spare me your justification. So that is what they do. So I am only wondering, will this sanction extend? Is America is trying to play baby here? You are just going for those little guys. You're going for the small fish, and the big fish is right there. The man who condone, who facilitated, who allow these individuals to abuse public trust publicly. He said nothing. He did nothing. The firing of Mangay, Bedway, and Cephas was because it was sanctioned by the U.S. government and because of cries from the Liberian people. where would I have acted? Just like he has failed consistently to act on Jefferson Koji's behavior. This young man has been all over the place. He's not even competent for the job he holds as city mayor. And we are maintaining him. And we are careless. So, folks, there are benefits to the sanction. The sanction will serve as a deterrent. The sanction will shame and name and shame bad actors and put restriction on them, and they will be embarrassed in our society. Even though that may not be enough, that is why the U.S. government is giving a step forward that prosecute these people. Because only when these people are guilty of significant crime in Liberia, then they can be prevented from running for offices in Liberia. Because Maggie Betwewe were not prosecuted, there is no judgment against them in the Republic of Liberia that they are criminals. That is why they were allowed and certificated by the National Election Commission to be senators today in our country. What a pity. And so, folks, the sanctions will serve as deterrent. It will name and shame individuals. It will warn would-be actors, especially the incoming government, many of whom have been envying maybe the likes of 12. They too want to ball at Eugene Namwe. They want to ride the best of cars. And talking about Unity Party, Unity Party has a track record of extravagantly spending our tax dollars. Unity Party was the one that were paying several $1,000s to individuals in government. Unity Party. We know them. That's what they did. This country has just emerged from the shackles of violence and war and destitution and dehumanization, human suffering of all sorts. And Unity Party came. Some people were still eating cabbage. Some people were still surviving on buckwheat. Some people were still drinking water from the rivers. Some people were still in agony from the pain. Some people saw their parents slaughtered right before them. They were in distress. They were traumatized. The Unity Party came to power. Instead of addressing the needs of the suffering, Unity Party was doing what it would do best, one of which was to amass wealth and allot to themselves fabulous salaries while our people were still lying in destitution. And so this is indeed a warning and a deterrent to the Unity Party folks who think that they are coming in government to ball again, to increase their salaries again, and do what they know best. So, yes, I will consider that as a benefit for sanction. But the question is, what can be a more deterrent accountability measure against corrupt actors? It will be that they are prosecuted. And if they are found liable and guilty of any of these corruptions that they're being accused of, then they should serve their term in jail. And they should be denied the opportunity to serve in government again because they abuse government. That would be the more deterrent accountability measure that we can put in place. If we are acted by investigating or prosecuting Mange and Twewe, and if they were to be found guilty by our courts, they will not have the right to contest as senators, and they will not be senators today. So let me come to the main issue here, folks. The Liberian people, our people, are you prepared? Have you ever wanted accountability whatsoever? Or this has been lip service? Let me give you a scenario, and I'll be very, very analytical. Since 2005, we have 4 presidential elections. 4. Of the 4 presidential elections, 2 parties won, CDC and Unity Party. Each time one of them won, it has been more than likely that the Liberian population has been divided between them. What do I mean? The last election, in the first round, CDC have 43%, Unity Party have 43%. So that is to say, the Liberian people, you are all, it's like, we have like 50%, for the sake of the presentation, on the CDC side, another 50% on the Unity Party side. Now, when the Unity Party was in power, when some individuals in the Unity Party were abusing public trust, what the Unity Party say? What the Unity Party partisans say, who constitute about 40% of the voting population in the country. What did they say? Now, for the about 6 years CDC has been in power, the other half of our population that support CDC has been justifying the abuse of power. Some of them have justified, some of them have some of them, this is what they do. So when I ask the question, are Liberians in the majority ready for the fight against corruption and holding corrupt officials accountable? I don't think so, to a greater extent, because citizens were seeing and supporters of CDC and President Weah saw what these men and women were doing or have been doing, especially the president, who set a terrible example. They said President Weah have money. President Weah is working. And they say that about all the officials in government. And in fact, when you press them for it, say, well, you didn't see Unity Party folks, what they did? Some of them will say, oh, well, you didn't see Doe when he was in power. Someone else said, well, what's about Todman? What's about old man Todman? Really? So this is what they do. Someone has done wrong. Let us deal with that person. If that person is on their side, they say, no, he's not the only one. In fact, the man before him did the same thing. What did you say? What did you do? In fact, let's go to Todman. In fact, let's go to Toba. Oh, let's go to Doe. Let's go to Joseph Chicken Robbers. We will not start if we continue to exhibit this behavior when it comes to accountability. The point is, we must start from somewhere. President Weah had the opportunity to have gotten us started with the Unity Party. When President Weah was given an overwhelming mandate by the Liberian people, 61%, he needed to hold the Saleh administration accountable. But he came, he started dancing and making music. And so, Boakai, the new administration, should not have made that mistake. You must audit the Weah administration. You must hold them accountable. Look where you find any wrongdoing, let the Lord take its course. Let the Lord take its course wherever you find any wrongdoing. I don't want to hear anybody telling me, oh, why you don't go to Unity? Let Boakai go to the Unity Party. If Boakai wants to do so, I will commend him. I want him to go there. But if and when he decides not to go there, CDC was best suited to have audited the Unity Party administration. CDC failed us flat. And so you can't hold Boakai accountable. After all, that was Boakai administration. You want me to audit myself? How fair is that audit going to be in the first place? Don't get me wrong. If Boakai can do it, that would be a commendable. But the one who was best suited, who cried all the cries against the Unity Party for corruption, was the CDC. And this is the CDC that were then given that opportunity by the Liberian people. Go to work, order them, whoever you find of any financial impropriety or wrongdoing or corruption, deal with that person legalistically by using our law and codes. CDC fell flat. Let not the Unity Party let us down. The Unity Party focus should be the CDC administration. If the Unity Party can go back, if Joseph Boakai can go back to the Unity Party that he worked in, beautiful. After all, he's on record for saying we squander opportunities. Maybe the squandering of opportunity also meant corruption. If he can go there, because he was best suited, he said, look, we were making PowerPoint presentation instead of carrying on implementation. Whatever wrongdoing he saw that he talked about in a more diplomatic tone, let him use the law and bring clarity to that issue. That would be commendable. But his overwhelming mandate, the responsibility given to him by the Liberian people, is to checkmate, to investigate, to audit, and hold the current government accountable, especially when it leaves power. That is why the U.S. government is saying that the Boakai administration should prosecute the sanctioned officials. Where did not prosecute his sanctioned officials, Boakai needs to do that. That's why he has been elected. So, folks, the U.S. government is clear. And this is the part that I close with. The Shashi affair of the U.S. Embassy in America, U.S. Embassy in Liberia said, and I quote, the media should want accountability. The Liberian people should want accountability. The Liberian government should want accountability. The civil society should want accountability. Do Liberians actually want accountability? Maybe they do. But I am not convinced that Liberians want accountability. Some Liberians who supported the CDC government are justifying for CDC officials who are abusing public trust. The United Party, when it was in power, Liberians who supported the Unity Party and continue to support it today have justified. Do they want accountability? Someone is being accused that, hey, that person might have stolen money. You say, oh, no, don't order the person. You don't want the person need to be clear? Some of these things sometimes can be allegation. There might not be fact to that. The right thing to do is let there be an investigation. Let there be a prosecution to prove whether or not that person was actually engaged into what they were being accused of. But no, they will say no. So how now do you actually want this thing called accountability? The media, as the media person, as a media institution, do you have ties to a particular political party? Do you have ties to a particular politician? We here are focused on Liberia. The leadership that runs this particular network, we have no affinity to anybody. Our responsibility is clear. We are an independent media. We are the fourth estate, and our role to hold our leaders accountable and keep them honest so they can serve our people well. That is our role. But we know for a fact that our partisan platforms, all they do is justify, promote anybody they support, whether or not the person is doing the right thing. That is why we see, and that is unfortunate. And that is why the U.S. Shashi Affairs, Catherine Rodriguez, is saying the media must want it. Now, Unity Party media institution or institution that support the Unity Party have been bashing the CDC. Fair enough. for doing the wrong things? Will they be able to hold their own administration accountable, or the administration they support accountable? Media personalities have been holding the CDC feet to the fire for all these allegations of corruption. Will they do the same thing when the allegations come up against their government? Will they do so? If they don't do so, then they don't want accountability. Accountability is not only to say, well, put a person in jail, whether or not they did what they're being accused of. It's not it. Accountability is, let's make sure this person has done what is being accused of. And when they're done, they are free men. But when the person is involved in that, then let the law take its course. Let the law take its course. But hey, the policy media, the individuals who support these politicians, they will not do it. And that is why the Sachet affair say the media must want it. Don't want it when it's against the person you don't support or the politician you do not support. You should also want it when there are questions against the individuals you support, so that that person name can be clear. But in Liberia, for most media institutions, it's different. The same thing with the citizens. Those who support President Weah will justify. They will not want any investigation whatsoever against the likes of Twelve and Kochi. They are justifying for them that they envy the man. The U.S. government is abusing power. They are white people trying to control the black man still. Come on, man. What are you talking about? These are the things they say. And these are the things that tell me that they don't want accountability. So to you, the Liberian people, it shouldn't matter who's being accused. When one is accused, let us want to know whether the person did what they're being accused of. Whether or not you support the person. That is how we move this country forward. That is how we set a better standard in terms of accountability. So we should not profess that we want accountability. Yet it's the part that I close with that is juicy. The United Party that we all know said all manner of things against Prince Johnson when Prince Johnson was supporting President Weah and the CDC. They mocked him. They ran behind him with war crime code in their mouth. It's like they have set up the code and they were waiting for him. They wanted him so bad to go to the war crimes court. They listed all the bad things Prince Johnson did because he was supporting President Weah. They wanted the world to know how a bad political actor Prince Johnson has been. The Unity Party did so, and its supporters. They will not hesitate to call all others who were supporting President Weah and the CDC. Fair enough. Holding them accountable, holding their feet to the fire, and reminding them of the bad ways they behave that do not represent our society better. But here's the thing. On the other hand, the CDC now is wanting Prince Johnson's head. Prince Johnson was with them just yesterday. I see the likes of Carol Gray talking about war crimes court. Really? You have had Prince Johnson with you. You guys were dancing and whining and dining with him because he has benefited your political side. So the crimes he committed, the sanction he was under, the things he's being accused, you never had time. You justify that, oh, Prince Johnson, he supported Ellen Johnson-Sterling. So when he's supporting, what happens? But now Prince Johnson switches his side. He jumps on the Boakai train, and now he remembers that he's a bad guy. But when he was with you, you never remember that. United Party is doing the same thing. CDC is doing the same. That is an example of how most of you behave when it comes to accountability. Whoever has acted bad and abused public trust when you are connected to the person through a party, ethnicity, or somehow, it is not okay to investigate that person, to hold that person accountable. But when that person goes on the opposite side of politics, then you want that person to be held accountable. This is what tells me Liberian people in their majority are not ready for accountability. It's just lip service. And then the other part is look at the individual that they elect. In Mangibi, Liberian people voted for Nathaniel McGill overwhelmingly. Nathaniel McGill was abusing public trust to the extent that he built a mausoleum for his dead mother. Someone was joking to say it has even Wi-Fi in it. I think I have a picture of it here. Yeah, it is. This is McGill's dead mother's grave. Look at that. How many Liberians even live in a house like this? Can you imagine that? This is what McGill did, and people justify that the man is working in government, that his money. And President Weah said nothing and did nothing. McGill stayed on it until they had to tell the U.S. government to sanction him, and the force is sent for him to act. This is the individual Liberians who are professing that they want accountability when an overwhelmingly voted for in Mangibi County. Why? Because the money he had to his disposal, he took the money and started paying school fees for their children. So he was a good man. But there's a psychological piece to that. Similar thing happened in what's the place name? Riverside. The people of Riverside voted for Boakai even though he was sanctioned. This man was named and shamed for being a bad actor who abused public trust, but it was a no. And today, as we're speaking, Jefferson Koji has been sanctioned in Liberia. And young people who want a better future for themselves are putting Jefferson on their heads. Who are we? Here's the picture. Here is Jefferson, who is being pointed out, being sanctioned, being named and shamed by the most powerful country on earth for being a bad actor, for abusing human rights in Liberia. And yet, the Liberian people that tell you they want accountability are toting this young man on their head in the streets of Monrovia. Young people are doing that. Seditionists are doing that. And seditionists are telling you Prince Johnson must be audited. Prince Johnson must go to War Crime Court. Seditionists will tell you they want Amara Connor to also be sanctioned. But here is Jefferson who is sanctioned. You have it on your head. But you want Amara to be sanctioned because he worked in government. And other people who work in the Ellis administration, you want them to be sanctioned. But the one who has been sanctioned, sedition voted for him, Nathaniel McGill in Mangibi County, they voted for Boakai in Riverside. Now they have Jefferson Koji on your head. But seditionists will tell you they want other people to be sanctioned for corruption. Hello? How does that make sense to you? How does this show that these people actually want individuals to be held accountable when they are doing the complete opposite of what they are professing to want? So I doubt that Liberians want accountability in their majority. But I was telling you about a psychological aspect to it, and this will conclude the broadcast and the analysis. So, why are Liberian people or some Liberian people doing this thing? Somebody like McGill, for example, Prince Johnson, for example, these people abuse public trust. Some of these people were involved in the worst human rights violation of all sorts, and yet they are doing business with these individuals. In some cases, the voters are voting for these individuals. And we are talking about accountability, but when individuals are held accountable, when public funds are used solely for the improvement of the material condition of the public, the country will be served well and everybody will be happy. When we are making the argument, this is the way to go, some people are still running behind these people, voting for them, justifying for them, doing business with them and whatsoever. Right? Why are they doing that? What is motivating them to do so? What is leading them to do so? And that is the psychological aspect of it. Is it because The idea that a better and fairer government can deliver for the people has not come to pass in Liberia. I put it in different words. We want good people to be in government. When the good people are in government, the Liberian people will benefit, right? Have we gotten good people in government for the Liberian people to benefit? I am Name. I'm all the way behind God's back. Where I live, there is not a good school. Let me show you a school here. And this school is in Riverside. Here's the building. Liberia. Students dropping out of school in Riverside due to lack of teachers. Look at the school building, fellow Liberians. Look at this school building in Riverside. In Riverside, you know who they voted for senator? Boakai, the man who has been sanctioned. Why do you think they voted for Boakai? According to one of the candidates who ran against Boakai, he said at the 11th hour of the election, Boakai carried money, he carried rice, and he distributed it to the people. And the people took the money and they blessed him with their vote. But Boakai have been around, and this government high school has been this way. That means not high school. This government school has been this way. In this school has been this way in Riverside. Why? The people chose to take one day chopping and embrace 6 years of suffering. Why? Because every time a government is given 6 years to serve the people, the government will absolutely do nothing for the people, especially those are in the county. I mean, look at people in Moravia, how they are suffering. Our government struggling to provide water in Moravia, suffering and struggling to provide electricity in Moravia. So come to think about my Grand Crew. Come to think about my Grand Crew. Come to think about your Riverside. Come to think about your Lofa and many other counties. So it is now the people responding to what may be an unfortunate reality. Now look, if we wait here, that there will be a government that will come to do for us, we finish. We'll never hear anything. So they have resorted to seeing these corrupt actors as gods. They are hungry. They want to eat right now. In the case of Nathaniel McGill, I don't know where he got the money from, but according to him, he raised over 120 million Liberian dollars. He went to Bon County. He went to Grand Bassa County. He went to Margibi. He went to all the vote-rich counties. And Nathaniel McGill was seen paying school fees for students in high schools. That's what Nathaniel McGill did. So the voters and their parents who have been struggling to pay tuition for their children, they say, well, the government that we've been waiting for to help us is yet to come. May never come. That man is in government and he is paying our tuition. Let us appreciate him. Because the almighty government that we're waiting for has not come. May never come. We are in distress now. I want my school fee to be paid now. I want my son's school fee to be paid now. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. And so because I don't have the money, I will take that little money from my gay so my child can be in school. I will take that back rest from Boakai so that I can have something to eat today. Because I don't know, or I'm sure that tomorrow I will not have it. Because if I don't take it, who will give it to me? That is what leading our people. So in order for us to get to that place of accountability, we should not only hold public officials who are abusing public trust accountable, we should also provide for our people the basic social services they need so that they can be beggars and act on their belly. That is what we need to do. Folks, that will conclude this presentation on the topic, U.S. government calls on the Boakai administration to prosecute the sanctioned officials. Yes, the U.S. government is doing us a favor indeed. We must welcome it, but we must play our part. The incoming government must do the right thing, must prosecute this individual. Boakai should set himself apart. The Unity Party must do better this time. We have heard so much and we have seen less. It is about time to see more and talk less. Folks, this concludes the presentation on the topic U.S. government calls on the Boakai administration to prosecute sanctioned administration. We join the U.S. government by calling on the Boakai administration to ensure that these individuals are prosecuted, and when they are guilty, they face the full weight of the law, and they must be denied the right to participate in government in the game. That's where we need to go. This is how far we need to go to serve the needed deterrent, and maybe we will be doing something for our country. Thank you for watching. My name is Anthony Sier, and I brought you yet another edition of the Hour of Politics. Until we see you again, when we do, we have a song here that says, "We are all Liberians. All Liberians we are." And so, folks, enjoy that song. We are all Liberians. Listen to it for 1 minute. It's a nationalistic song. You might like it. I'll see you soon. I love you all, and bye-bye.
We are Liberians.